Greetings and welcome back to Room 303 and our chats with Emily as we're calling our readings through the poetry of Emily Dickinson. We turn now to poem 168, If the Foolish Call Them Flowers. Now, I find this a remarkable little poem. We are back to artistic appreciation. We've seen this already in earlier studies. Our assumptions that you've been following our stuff at LearnStrong.net, down that left-hand side, chats with Emily, our playlist. I'm hopeful that you not only worked through our introductory set of comments, but as well the preceding 167 poems we just finished with to learn the transport. Now, this poem may be a response to a comment made by Sam Bowles in the Springfield Republican when he said the following, quote, "Now in the flower season, let us welcome the kindred flowers of poetry and romance, and never idly fancy the time is lost that is spent in their enjoyment." Now, Emily may be actually responding to this and responding to the quote-unquote savants, but because I think Emily recognizes she's always outside the mainstream publication world. She's always on the outside looking in, and her go-to word picture here will be Moses, who, for reasons that are articulated particularly in Deuteronomy 34, when Moses will hit the rock with his rod instead of speak to the rock to produce water, he's not allowed to enter into the promised land, and therefore he has to stand at the top of Mount Pisgah and look into that land, but he can't go there. I think that's a powerful image for this poem. Let's enjoy it. If the foolish call them flowers, need the wiser tell? If the savants classify them, it is just as well. Those who read the Revelations must not criticize those who read the same edition with beclouded eyes. Could we stand with that old Moses, Canaan denied, scan like him the stately landscape on the other side? Doubtless we should deem superfluous many sciences, not pursued by learned angels in scholastic skies. Lo, amid that glad belles lettres, grant that we may stand stars amid profound galaxies at that grand right hand. Now, I think this poem is Emily again attempting to place herself outside of the savants, outside of the wise men. But here, notice she'll call them right away the foolish. In other words, the poems that she's writing are not simply flowers as in poems. But what's the point of trying to argue with the wiser? If the foolish call them flowers, need the wiser tell. In other words, I'm not going to make that argument, she says, that my poetry is just like common flowers. It clearly is something more than that for Emily. And yet, what's the point of making the argument? Because the savants, you'll remember this one from poem 100, and you'll remember the wise men of poem 127. I think we're playing the same guy. And that's why we get the quotation mark of classify. If the savants classify them, it's just as well, as in it's over. In other words, who gets to determine what great art, what great poetry is? She says, I'm familiar that it usually is the wise men and the savants, but I'm going to call them foolish. Those who read the Revelations. Now that's fascinating because, of course, the apocalyptic text of the New Testament is actually called Revelation, not sons. So she's playing a game here. Those who read the Revelations must not criticize those who read the same edition with beclouded eyes. In other words, there's different ways to perceive great art. And I'm not going to get in an argument, she seems to be suggesting, with those who are the ones who understand exactly what's going on. Of course, she could be speaking, I think, and she is speaking very ironically here. Now, you'll remember in Deuteronomy 34, 1 through 4, that Moses is told by God, quote, I have caused thee to see it, that is to say, the land of Canaan. I have caused thee to see it with thine eyes, but thou shalt not go over thither. In other words, you do not get to enter, you only get to see. Now, you'll remember in poem 112, you guys remember this one when we were messing with poem 112, when she says it this way, where bells no more affrighted the morn, where Scrabble never comes, where very nimble gentlemen are forced to keep their rooms, where tired children placid sleep through centuries of noon. This place is bliss, this town is heaven. Please, Pater, pretty soon. Oh, could we climb where Moses stood and view the landscape o'er, not father's bells, nor factories could scare us anymore. This quest for perspective. When we hit poem 597, we're going to enjoy this poem. It's a radical one. It always felt to me a wrong to that old Moses done, to let him see the Canaan without the entering. And though in soberer moments no Moses there could be, I'm satisfied the romance in point of injury surpasses sharper stated. This is an interesting one. She finishes with, the fault was doubtless Israel's, myself had banned the tribes, and ushered grand old Moses in Pentateuchal robes upon the broad procession. 'Twas little, but titled him to see, old man on Nebo, late as this, my justice bleeds for thee. This idea that she feels like Moses. She's standing outside of the promised land, and then her next word is scan. She says, to pick it up, could we stand with that old Moses? And by the way, 1201, we'll come back to old Moses one more time. Canaan denied. Scan like him the stately landscape on the other side. If we could do it, doubtless, we should deem superfluous many sciences. The only time the word science is used in all of her poetry. Nor pursued by learned angels. Now this idea of learned or learned angels takes us back to the first line of 167, to learn. And when we meet poem 1210, learned waters, it's the only other time she uses this word learned as an adjective. In scholastic skies, and I think the key word there again is back to this idea of scholastic skies. In other words, they're the experts. The experts know what great art is, and I'm on the outside looking. I'll never be able to get in. Lo, she says to finish, amid that glad bells letters, grant that we may stand. In other words, the goal of the promised land. Stars, amid profound galaxies, you'll remember profound from poem 60, at that grand right hand. So notice we go from grant to galaxies to grand. And right hand will be mentioned in poem 367. I'm interested in her use of right hand in poem 1551 when we get there. Those dying then knew where they went. They went to God's right hand. That hand is amputated now and God cannot be found. The abdication of belief makes the behavior small. Better an ingenious fatus than no illum at all. It is interesting, this use of right hand. In other words, obviously heaven, and that's the gate that we saw in earlier poems. At 2a, what is it that she's saying here? I think she's arguing that serious artists want respect. They want to be taken seriously, but they're often going to be on the outside looking in, and there's nothing they can do about that. At 2b, I love the Moses reference here, and of course at 3a, the Deuteronomy 34, 1-4 passage. At 3b, to own a poem like this, what was a time that you longed for acceptance, that you were on the outside looking in, and all you could do was stand and scan, and of course, hope someday for acceptance? Thank you.